I like sports.
I prefer reading.
I like music.
But does this interfere with our learning?
So, morning everyone. I'm Ahmad Ibrahim and this is my team. Yomna and Mariam Abdurrahman. We are team 27. Today our presentation will be about multiple intelligence and its role in our life as medical students. For this slide, these are the main points in this presentation. The first one is what's multiple intelligence. The second, the current teaching methods, and the third and the last one is how to apply this theory in medical schools. For the next slide. So, Abdurrahman, can you tell us about the multiple intelligence theory and what is that theory exactly?
The theory of multiple intelligence was published in 1983 by the famous Harvard University professor Howard Gardner. It claims that IQ testing is far too limited to assess intelligence. However, he proposed 8 different intelligence ranging from children to adults to cover the human potential. These eight intelligence, we will cover them one by one in the coming slides. Dr. Gardner believed that every and each one of us has his own cognitive thinking, and this has led to wide intellectual diversity. This intellectual diversity made it unfair to treat students in schools the same. So, our schools and our culture treat students, logical and mathematical minds, the same. So is it on the expense of the other intelligence? Is it fair? Is that fair? So the student might learn. Nowadays we have schools. Nowadays we have schools. Students might learn things are good. They might get good grade in school. They might make their parents proud of them. But a year or two later, they might forget what they have learned. So it isn't fair to treat everybody the same.
So I would start with something said by Dr. Howard Gardner. If the children that doesn't learn the way you are teaching, so then you have to teach the way the children learns. But there is a question here, guys. Is this theory or this approach, one-size-fits-all approach, is better than the theory of multiple intelligence, or more effective than it to be applied in medical schools?
So before answering our next question, I'd like to say something Einstein once said. He said, "Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing it's stupid." So, to answer Ahmed's question, everybody has a different learning approach. That's why there should be different teaching methods to allow each person to learn by his strength. And these strengths are important in how kids learn, how they represent data in their mind, and how they apply this data. So today we're going to talk about what teaching methods could be used in med school to allow children to learn by their ways.
So, let's see this multiple intelligence. Let's begin with the interpersonal intelligence. So, tell us, Mariam, what's so special about those people?
First of all, they like to work with others. They are skilled verbal and non-verbal communicators, and they enjoy being around others.
And how could this be applied in med school?
First of all, there could be small group discussion sessions where they have the chance to interact with the students. There could be also personal discussions with the professors, also known as office hours, and they could be offered a chance to talk with patients, also known as the clinical part. The next intelligence is the bodily kinesthetic. Yomna, what is it?
Okay, those are people who like to do things with their own hands to figure out how they work. And they can sit for a long time in the same place. Most of them are athletic people.
And what are some teaching methods?
Well, the practical sessions where they can practice, where they can experiment the thing on a real plastic model or a cadaver. Also, they have to take long breaks to move around. Those people relate medical information to sports. And then let's get to the interpersonal intelligence. Who are those people?
They are insightful, sympathetic people.
Okay, what's the teaching method that could be applied in med school to help those?
They could summarize each class by 3 keywords. They could also be offered counseling sessions where they learn more about themselves. And the assignments should be flexible. That means they should have the chance to choose what they want to do. Our next intelligence is the logical mathematical. Yomna, could you tell me who these people are?
Those people are people who enjoy science experiments, and they like to organize things by categories and make analogies.
How can you teach them to reach the best results?
By offering science experiments, and PowerPoint's presentation should also be very precise and clear, and teachers should try to compare between things. Okay, now to the verbal intelligence. What's verbal intelligence?
They love words and they usually think with words.
Okay, and what's the teaching method that could be applied?
They could do crossword puzzles, which is not usual with medical vocabulary. Also, they could be assignments where they have to write a short essay. Last but not least, the musical intelligence. Who are they?
There are people who love music, and they learn by auditory means, and most of them have interest in music.
What are some teaching methods?
There is an interesting example here. For instance, they could be offered to hear a heart beating, so this way they could understand the mechanism of its pumping. And also those people study by forming texts that rhyme, so that it can help them memorize. Now to the last intelligence, which is the spatial intelligence, picture smart. So who are those?
They are people who have very good receptive skills, and they also learn by looking at pictures.
Okay, and what's the teaching method?
There could be 2 types of assignments. One where they take pictures, for example, of hospitals, museums, patients. And the second kind is that they have to draw anatomical structures. And the last option is that during the lecture, they use pictorial methods, for example, visual charts, pictures, flow charts. So,
Okay, in this slide, I want to talk about a quote of Professor Einstein. Professor Einstein says, "The only thing that interferes with my learning is my education." I think it's a fact. I suffer from this fact for the last few years in my life, my education. But today, and after what we said in the previous slides, I want to say to Professor Einstein. Professor Einstein, now learning and education can reinforce each other and make us as great as you. They can generate another Einstein. Now with this quote of Dr. Gardner, it's not how smart you are, it's how you are smart.
Finally, do you think this theory has been applied in Egypt in medical schools?
Thanks. Thanks for listening and thanks for your time. And I hope that our presentation was useful to you and giving you information.